Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm Ray, what Ray reads. Follow me on Instagram. If you're new here, welcome. We discuss all things book related and sometimes not book related. It's been a great reading year. I've read some great books and a couple of not so great books. So I thought in today's video it'd be something different and, dare I say, fun to do, is to do a tier ranking of all the books that I read in 2023. I'm already getting the dates mixed up. So she didn't meet a reading challenge and that's okay. So we're going to be tier ranking the books. I think we've got about 48 books to rank, so we need to get to it. But before that, if you haven't subscribed, do it. You know you want to, you do, yes you do. So now that's out of the way, let's get to the tiers, shall we? So I've got my laptop here and I'm just gonna, if you see me looking down, it's because I'm doing the tier ranking on the laptop. So obviously top of the tier is God tier. Second, we've got sliving.
Living is basically slang and living your best life into one word. It's the new that's hot.
And that term is coined by a Miss Paris Hilton, with sliving. That one is for books that I enjoyed, but they weren't quite God tier. Then we've got middle of the road. Our 3 stars are, it was okay, but it was kind of forgettable. And that tier is Go Girl, Give Us Nothing.
Go Girl, Give Us Nothing.
Because Go Girl, you didn't really give us anything, did you? So that's middle tier. Then we've got second to last tier, Meh. That's a book that, you know, didn't really do anything for us. It wasn't absolutely awful, but it was just really meh. And then we've got the very bottom tier, Send It to the Shredder. Evil laugh. This is the tier where the Colleen Hoovers would be going, but obviously she didn't read any Colleen Hoovers this year because she's Satan. No, I did read 3 when I first started my booktube channel. I read 3 of her books and it's like, Rachel, why did you read 3 of her books? Surely after reading 1 you'd realise that she's not your cup of tea. You don't like her writing. She's not that great of an author. She has themes of red flag tendencies. You don't like how she writes female characters. And we'd say, Rachel, why did you read 3? Well, I read 3 because at first I read It Ends With Us. Everyone was giving it 5 stars this, 5 stars that. I read it and I was like, you know what, there was things about it that I really didn't care for. 1 was the red flags in the relationship. 2 was the introduction of Ellen DeGeneres, cancelled.
You're cancelled.
And I thought, you know what, she's dealing with a very heavy topic, DV. It wasn't my type of thing, but I could see the benefits of what she was trying to do. Then people were like, her latest book, Verity's a bit of a different genre for her. It's thriller. So I read it and the thrilling elements, they were there. It was very pulpy and easy to read. It was a page turner. Was the questionable tendencies once again with the relationships in that one? Yes, there were. Their gendered dynamics and the questionable behaviours between the man and the woman. Yes, there were. Toxic. But, you know, I thought, she's doing a new genre. I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. And she did grip me with that one. And then we get to Ugly Love. And she read it and I was this close to sending it to the shredder, because that was just like, you know what, you've confirmed me hatred, you've solidified me hatred now. I don't like the way you write female characters. The arc of the whole book is pretty much the same in everything. It's red flag central, and I don't like the way the female character's narrative and drive is secondary to getting down. You know, I said what I said, so
I said it, I'm not taking it back, as you.
Yeah, the Colleens are being the shredder, but thankfully I didn't read any this year. Yeah, the rant's over and we'll get into it. So first we've got Arthur Miller. What is that book called again? I've completely forgot what it's called. The Crucible by Arthur Miller, which is actually a play. I just decided to randomly pick this out of my shelf one day because I really like reading about the Salem witch trials and things like that, and everyone holds this play to really high standards. And, you know, there were aspects of it that I liked. I could understand what he was doing during the McCarthyism era and focusing on the way people were treated, ostracised and cast out, and it shone a light on that horrible history in that time in America. But you know, it was a play and it wasn't really gripping, but I can understand the importance it has and the meaning behind it. So I think I'm gonna put that in. I'm going to put it in Go Girl, Give Us Nothing, because she did give us some things, but for the majority of the time, unless it's acted out theatrically, reading it's very Go Girl, Give Us Nothing. So I said what I said. Next, we've got one of the heaviest and probably most important histories that I feel like everyone should read, and that is The Ethical Cleansing of Palestine. Very relevant at the moment, and I listened to it on audiobook. It's just an overview of what it says, The Ethical Cleansing of Palestine, and if you want to know more about it, I really highly recommend that you go seek that book out and read it, or listen to it. So that's going in God tier. Next, we've got a suspension. Is it suspension? I can't see. Suspension of Mercy by Patricia Highsmith, and I'd read The Talented Mr. Ripley, and obviously I'm a fan of that film and Carol, and I know that Patricia Highsmith's got a reputation of being very good at writing suspense, and you know, we stan a queen. So I quite enjoyed it. I liked the way the plot points were set out, and from beginning to end she did kind of keep me guessing, but it did fall flat at some aspects and it wasn't as gripping as The Talented Mr. Ripley. Still, I'd like to read more of her books, but that's going in Go Girl Give Us Nothing, because you know, she didn't really give us much. Next, we've got a poetry collection by Miss Sylvia Plath, and I read this fairly recently. I'm not one who reads much poetry. I wish I was a poetry girly, but in all honesty, I'd say poetry, a lot of it goes over my head and it makes my head hurt.
Why are you so stupid?
Because there's so many meanings that you could interpret from a poem. Obviously, we've got Lady Lazarus and Daddy and Ariel and a few other poems in there that are standout, considered Sylvia Plath's best work. So I did enjoy reading that one. Some of them didn't hit quite the same as others, and some of them kind of went over my head. So it's one that I think I need to, I think I've got hair on my lip. I think I need to revisit that. But yeah, I'm a Sylvia Plath girly. She's going in Sliving because we're sliving for her. Next, we've got Foster by Claire Keegan, which was the first of hers that I read, and I really love the way she writes small characters and moments into a big story and really drives you to want to know more and feel connected. And you know, Foster started me on my journey of being a Claire Keegan stan, so she's going in Sliving. Not my favourite Claire Keegan, but the one that got me on my journey. Then we've got Pretend I'm Dead by Jem Began, which was the second I read of hers after Big Swiss, and again I've discovered a new favourite author. She's got a really quick and witty way of writing characters, and she's really funny as well, so she's going in Sliving also, because she wasn't God tier, but I had a good time with her. Then we've got Girl in Snow by Danya Kukafka, and I read this, if you've seen in my end of year tag. She was quite disappointing because I read her after Notes on an Execution, and I was a bit disappointed in that because it didn't slap quite as hard on the thriller aspect. So she's going in meh. She still had, you know, the premise was there, the execution just didn't pay off, so she's going in meh. Then we've got Word Slut by Amanda Montell, our pop science queen, and I read this after Cultish, and Amanda Montell, as we've said, one of my favourite authors who is non-fiction, and she does a lot of pop science and pop culture things, and that one was about feminism and language and the way it's used against women. She's going in God tier. It's my opinion, that's what I said. Then we've got You Exist Too Much by Zaina Arafat, and I enjoyed the relevancy when I read it. I was seeking out Palestinian authors, and I really like that we're getting unique Palestinian voices, Palestinian American, and there were aspects to the story that I really enjoyed and found them really gripping and intriguing. But again, some parts should have been focused on more than others, and I wish she would have focused more on her life growing up, because I think it was strongest when it was more reflective. So she's going in Go Girl Give Us Nothing, because she gave us some things, but once again it wasn't not always pay off. So sorry, that's my opinion. You may not agree, but that's my opinion. Boy Parts by Eliza Clark, she's going in God tier. Eliza Clark, another favourite author that I discovered. Talk about strong northern voice, laugh out loud, creepy, disgraceful, shocking. Would you call that body horror? There's like horror, creepy elements. It's just, I've never read anything like it. She's God tier. Then we've got Hunger by Roxane Gay, and I would put that in the shredder, but I gave it 5 stars, but she's going in meh, because although I enjoyed reading this book, Roxane Gay blocked me on Instagram, so she's going in meh, because I won't be reading any more of her book. And if you're interested in why she blocked me, it was because I messaged her on Instagram and asked her, after she was speaking up on Israel, she weren't sharing the same platform to speak up for Palestine. She was very defensive in the message response to me, and when I checked, she blocked me. So yeah, I'm gonna support more smaller authors who are just as talented but aren't as quick to block the readers as she is.
Not my problem.
Next, we've got Know My Name by Chanel Miller, God tier, and a difficult book to read, but a very important and relevant book about her story. And if you want to know more, I implore everyone to read her book because she's a very talented writer and you should read the story in her words. Then we've got Being Lolita by Alison Wood. I think it's Alison Wood. And again, this is God tier. I rated that 5 stars, and that one deals with a teacher grooming his student, and it's told from her point of view, Alison Wood, because she was the one who was on the receiving end of that, and she kind of equates it to Lolita, the story and the myth and the pop culture representation of Lolita and how that fed in to the strange desire a lot of men have, and you know, women fetishize Lolita, and it's very personal and beautifully written. So going in God tier. Again, another God tier, Minor Detail by Adania Shibli, another Palestinian story told in a very touching and heartfelt way, told in 2 separate stories, one in the 1940s and one much later in more modern times, and they are connected through being Palestinians, but also in the second story she investigates what happens in the first story. So it's a strange mixture of genres in a sense, and it's very touching and will stay with you. Next, we've got Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey. She's going to the shredder. Sorry, it's my opinion.
That's my opinion!
I read that over Christmas. That was my festive read. Sometimes I like to read more light-hearted, Christmassy things, but I'm noticing a theme. Last year I read A Merry Little Meet Cute, and this year I read Window Shopping, and they both belong in the shredder. It's not for me. When the book was strongest, she was writing about the characters and what was going on in their lives and what led them to this moment. Then that's always pushed to the side, and we're never given any payoff in favour of steaminess and spiciness. And you know, there's a time and a place for that, but it's just not for me. And a lot of the writing in those spicy scenes is very cringe, so she belongs in the shredder. Next, we've got Violets, and that is going in... I'm going to put it in Sliving. In the tiers, I'm not going to put things at the front of the tiers, I'm just going to put them in there because they're not really in an order, they're in my order. There were aspects of Violets that I really liked when it focused on the reflective aspects and the more internal aspects. It wasn't quite God tier. The Pisces by Melissa Broder, that's going in Living. Merman Relationship, need I say more? Then we've got Evil Eye by Etaf Rum, and that is going in God tier. Again, another Palestinian voice, Palestinian-American voice, and it's very centred on her journey and what's expected of her culturally, but also what she wants for her life personally, and she really walks that balance really well. She feels like a fully fleshed out character and you feel for her, and she's one of my favourites of the year. Then we've got Beach Read by Emily Henry. That's going in Go Girl Give Us Nothing because there's a unique rom-com premise there, as Miss Emily Henry is one to do, but there were some aspects that were cringe for me, and there were also some aspects that just, they didn't really have an impact on me, and from what I've read of hers, she does better. It's going in Go Girl Give Us Nothing. Then we've got On the Savage Side, she's going in God tier because that was one of the books that really touched me a lot and stayed with me after I'd put the book down. The characters felt very real, the story was really upsetting and poignant, and I just absolutely love her style of writing, and again the fact that it was based somewhat on a true story hits that much more. Next, we've got Vacuum in the Dark, again by Jen Began. I'm putting that in Sliving also. I'm going to put that actually next to Pretend I'm Dead because they're kind of like a duo and they deal with the same character, so it's kind of like a continuation on the first one, and I just love her style of writing. The characters really odd and unique. Oh, I hate that word, you know what, I'm going to get a thesaurus and find all the other words because looking back on my video or when I'm editing it, I keep saying unique and it needs to stop.
Guys are in a crisis. I'm on my way.
The character's really fun and she's strange and I'm there for it. Then we've got Small Things Like These by Miss Claire Keegan. She's going in God tier. That was the second Claire Keegan I read, and it packs such a punch in such a small book, and that's probably her strongest book in my opinion. Set over Christmas and it talks of family. It also focuses on the Magdalen laundries in Ireland, but it's set during a festive time, and it just shows you how even though this is supposed to be a happy time, these type of things still happen, bad, awful things. It focuses on wanting to slow down and take small moments to appreciate your life and what you've got in it at the end of the year. And she just pushes all these things together and creates a really believable and strong world and characters, and it's God tier. Then we've got Mother in the Dark, God tier. Mother-daughter relationships, trauma. Generational trauma. Unique female voices, working class dynamics. It's just all there. It's like the perfect book to read if you want to read something that focuses on family relationships, family dynamics, mother-daughter relationships that aren't always what a Hallmark card promises you. If you've got any mother issues, read it, don't we all? Then we've got Happy Place by Emily Henry. She's going in Sliving. That was Emily like I know her. Emily's latest book. When I read Emily Henry, I know I'm gonna have a good time. It's like when you put a rom-com on and there's emotions and there's heartfelt moments, but it makes you forget your troubles and rom-com world. And yeah, I was sliving for that. Then we've got Highway Blue. That's going in meh because it was meh. It was like a road trip book, but nothing really happened in it. Read it and I was like, then we've got So Late in the Day, Sliving. That's Claire Keegan's latest book. It's like 50 pages and it talks about gendered dynamics and relationships in a very clever way, and it feels really real. And if you've ever experienced gender relationship, family dynamics between the genders, then you'll really feel touched and seen with this book. Then we've got Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder. She's going in Sliving. They're not in like any particular order, they're just categorised. Unhinged Girlies, Run Don't Walk, Motherhood, Feral and Unhinged. They're your 3 words to get you there. Then we've got The Trees by Percival Everett. That's going in Sliving. Such a unique concept, like nothing I've ever read before. Talk about a unique concept on race and injustice and crime. Claps. Then we've got Miss Britney Spears, The Woman in Me. I'm putting her in Sliving. Tear words. She deserves anything. You know what? She's had a hard time. That girl deserves to do what she wants, be who she wants, and say what she wants. So she's going in Sliving. Then we've got The Premonition by Banana Yoshimoto. That's going in Go Girl Give Us Nothing because it was very much light on the plot and there were aspects and sentences that were very touching and heartfelt and poignant, which she's very known to do. And that's why I really like her writing. But it was one of those that you read and you're like, not much happened in it really, and it just didn't really stay with me. Again, we've got another no plot, just vibes with The Woman in the Purple Skirt, Go Girl Give Us Nothing. I enjoyed that a little bit more than The Premonition, but it was very internal for the character and we don't really get any other POV. There were other aspects it could have focused on. Yellowface, I'm putting that in Sliving. Not as high up for me as Babel, but the most unputdownable book. And R.F. Kuang solidifying herself as one of my favourite authors. Against the Loveless World by Susan Abulhoa, God tier. Oh god, this one stayed with me, and the characters, the way the story was told, the relationships. Again, it's another Palestinian author and she's in your heart and she's gonna destroy it. Read it, please. Big Swiss, Sliving. Again, Jen Began, one of my favourites of the year author-wise. Such one-of-a-kind, odd, strange, bewildering female characters who focuses on oddities, and it's like, you know, when someone says something that you'd think but you wouldn't say, you're like, you wouldn't say that out loud, but that's what the character's given. She's given kind of unhinged, funny, she's dynamic, and she's just a joy to read really. Then we've got Diz Tate, Roots. I'm putting her in Go Girl Give Us Nothing because again, I enjoyed it, but it was very no plot, just vibes. It's given Sophia Coppola, it's given hazy summer, teenage girls. If you've been a teenage girl, you know what I'm talking about, but it was definitely no plot, just vibes. I mean, the vibes were immaculate, but no plot. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. As I said in my other end of year tag, I didn't get the hype of this, but I'm pretty sure somebody told me that Gabrielle Zevin is a Zionist, so she's going to the shredder. Sorry, that's my opinion, but you know, I don't want to platform or support someone who's got such bigoted views.
She's got a point.
So I won't be reading any more of her book. Then we've got Elena Knows. That one was, I'm sliving for that one. It was an older protagonist, which I liked. She was kind of an unreliable narrator as well because we're following her and she's kind of got, you know, memory issues, but she's seeking out a truth and we're following it to try and find that. So I was gripped till the end. It touches on certain cultural and geographical female issues. I don't want to give too much away, but I really thought that was it was a standout for me. Then we've got Paris the memoir. She's obviously got to go in sliving. She gave us the word sliving and she wasn't guarded in her story, which I liked. I advise you listen to it on audiobook because you're listening to it in Miss Hilton's voice. Then we've got The Last Housewife, which I quite enjoyed. That was one of the thrillers I read this year, and it touches again on gendered issues, and also there's like a cult aspect to it, so it's very thrilling and easy to read, but I liked how it had the female voice at the forefront. Then we've got The Old Haunts by Alan Radcliffe, sliving. Queer love story, working class Scottish story. I'm there. Very reflective and touching. Then we've got I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel. I enjoyed this, but it was very much no plot, just vibes once again. She's going in Go Girl Give Us Nothing, because although I enjoyed reading it, you know, she's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. She kind of allows us to make up our own assumptions about certain things, and it is a bit unhinged. Then we've got How Not to Drown in a Glass of Water. She is sliving. I was sent that and it stood out to me. It had an impact on me. I didn't know what to expect and it really took me by surprise. Again, we've got a more middle-aged female protagonist and we love to see it. We love to see the representation. Then we've got The Rachel Incident, God tier. Sorry, that's my opinion. God tier, James and Rachel, they can do no wrong. Their dynamic is just so believable and realistic. I could just read about them forever and I loved it. Winter Lights, nah, sorry, that was another festive read that I read and it was cutesy. I could see what it was doing. It was nice enough, but it was very meh. Notes on an Execution, God tier. You want a thriller that's told in a more split narrative, different POVs. It's a different take on the genre. It kind of flips the genre of thriller and true crime on its head. Read that. Then we've got Penance by Eliza Clark. She's going in sliving. Actually, is she going in God tier? I'm putting her in sliving. She didn't quite hit the same for me as Boy Parts, but there's a true crime element there. It's told in a interview format, reflective, different characters. I really like that about it. It's not God tier, but it's almost God tier. But Eliza Clark, once again, I'm there for everything she's going to write in the future. Babel, God tier. One of the first 5 stars I gave this year and nothing's quite topped the impact, the world building, the concept as much as Babel. I'm an RF Kuang stan now. Then we've got The List by Yomi Adegoke, and it's too harsh to send that one to the shredder, so I'm going to put it in meh because there was a good concept there, but the payoff just wasn't there. And it seemed as though I feel like when it was written with the beginning, middle and end plot points already planned out, but the middle just wasn't filled in enough. Yeah, I would definitely read another book by her, but that one just wasn't there for me. So yeah, there's our tier ranking of the books I read this year. This is just my opinion, you may not agree, and that's fine. That's the fun thing about reading, we all have different opinions. If you've seen something that you want to read, I hope you seek it out and find it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was kind of something more light and fun to do, and it's kind of a good bookend for the year. If you want me to do any particular videos, let me know in the comments below, and if you haven't, follow me on Instagram, like, comment and subscribe. You know you want to. XOXO. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.